2025 anyway, the whole industry has shifted more towards experience. Luxury is now an experience travel. For TONIK, at the epicenter of our brand is sustainability, adding value to the livelihoods around and ensuring that the ecosystem we exist for each of our property.
Acorn is relatively a new brand. We don't want to be transactional. We want to tell the story the proper way and go for high yield, proper tourists who are use our tourism products well, because we are still in the infant stage of tourism.
Hi everyone, and today we're talking about the leisure industry, and joining me in the studio are two gentlemen from Acorn Leisure. Harith Perera is partner of the Acorn Group and managing director of Acorn Leisure. Welcome, Harith.
Thank you.
And Raj Kokularajah, CEO of Acorn Leisure. Hi, Raj.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
I'm going to start with you, Harith. The Acorn Group was born in a very challenging time in 2020. It's gone from being, focused on one or two verticals to like a multi-industry conglomerate. And now we've got into Acorn Leisure as well. What is the thinking behind this, and how does this fit into the broader vision of the Acorn Group?
Okay, so interesting question. Leisure and hospitality has always been in our DNA when we were part of the Hemas Holdings Group. So we had leisure, aviation, and travels. In 2020, just a few days before COVID, there was a management buyout, and an Acorn Group was born. So initially, for first 2 years, there were obviously not much business with the whole COVID scenario. But our travel and aviation segments were flourishing moving forward. Because leisure and hospitality was in our DNA, we wanted to start Acorn Leisure and get into that side as well. With our experience, skill set, the networking, we wanted to have the right purpose and a broader strategy. And we were discussing this for the last 2-3 years, and now we are ready. So we have now a very interesting brand, which talks about about heritage, people, storytelling, that resonates with the discerning global traveler. So we are excited about it, and we are here to talk about it.
Excellent. I'm going to come to you, Raj. I'm going to start off with something that Harith said, the discerning international traveler. Gone are the days where people just, pick up a location from the map or some sort of brochure, and they just turn up and then, figure themselves out. The modern international traveler would like to know where they're going. They want to know the story behind the location, and how it connects to so many other parts of the ecosystem. And TONIK doesn't really, position yourselves as a conventional, tourism or hotel operator. You're positioning yourself as some sort of curator of living narratives. So when you sort of moved into this experiential tourism or story-led tourism, what are the challenges that you expected to come? How have you addressed them? And how are you going to leverage on the heritage that Harith mentioned to kind of give a really unique offering?
Yes. So when we wanted to build this brand, I think the core things that a brand should have is a soul and a clear defined objective. So our objective was pretty clear. We already had legacy brands. I myself have worked in a couple of them, built some of them. We wanted to be unconventional, throw the playbook out, and try to be different as possible. And how can we be more customer centric? Then the soul part of it was all about every time when I met property owners or asset owners, they had a story to tell about their property. It had a legacy. Then every guest or every traveler, when they go back, when they relate to their friends, family, they tell a story about the whole stay. So we questioned ourselves, how do we make this storytelling quite easy for both of them? So we took the asset owner story and merged it with the travel experience and helped the guests to tell their story much better. So the core being a storytelling aspect of it. But now that this story is being told, for us, when you get into the property, as a brand, a lot of brands have an issue is that their positioning is there, but when it comes to operational effectivity, the whole positioning goes off. But now for us, we've been like a guest journey has been the center of it. So we are driving to make sure these operational aspects they come to reality, and there's no bigger gap. This we are achieving by rigorous training and we invest in technology to mark the right touch points in the customer journey. And end of the day, to keep it simple as possible, because each of the property has to be relatable. And in 2025, anyway, the whole industry has shifted more towards experience. Luxury is now an experience travel. It's not a, the amenity or the luxurious bed. So we are curating this whole experience to show that the value addition we bring onto the table is more story driven, and it's quite easy for the both parties, the partners and the guests. Yeah.
Harith, something that you touched on before, the conglomerate now has multiple businesses, and a lot of history for from the founders' experiences to the obviously other staff's experience as well. How are you bringing this together? How does hospitality and leisure marry everything else that you have, aviation, travel, logistics?
Okay. The core of our business is travel, aviation, and leisure. But at the same time, we have certain investments and certain interest in insurance, in freight, in education. In addition to that, we are present in 6 countries. We were there in Thailand and Maldives for a while. We have opened up in Cambodia. We have 2 offices in UAE. We have in Bangladesh. And in Cambodia. So 6 places.
And 300 staff, that's
With
huge.
close to 300 staff. Now, what we're trying to do is, learn from the regional network, learn from the different business verticals, and add value to our core products. Now, how do you do that to Acorn Leisure? Obviously, if you take even aviation or travel, service, reliability, global network is important. So we are trying to use that at Acorn Leisure. With that, we can talk about guest movements, the systems, operational discipline, all that. There's a lot of learnings, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of out there we need to take. Whether we are doing it well enough, I think we can do much more. But it's an interesting plate we have, and using those, especially inbound tourism, we actually celebrating next year our inbound company, which was Hem Tours.
Yes.
Was rebranded as DTM Travel now, and it goes as DTH. It's the 50th year this year. So we have handled a lot of guests from Europe to Asia to the Americas. We have learned a lot about our guests. So I'm sure with the right attitude and with the data and with the new the staff we are bringing in, we can bring it and give a benefit to Acorn Leisure and TONIK in a big way.
Excellent. Raj, the modern traveler puts sustainability at the heart of their value system. So when we talk about sustainability, it's not just about making sure that pollution is tackled or you recycle stuff. They also want to know that the communities in which you operate in are also taken care of in terms of the product. So how do you what strategies are you using to make sure that you incorporate the local communities, the artisans, the food, transport around the property, people around the property working with you? How are you bringing all of this together to make sure that there is a sustainable product through the TONIK brand?
So unlike other brands where this is an add-on, for TONIK, at the epicenter of our brand is sustainability, adding value to the livelihoods around, and ensuring that the ecosystem we exist or each of our property exists in a more sustainable manner. Meaning we add value to what we live around with. Given the fact that the ultimate staff at the property, we call them the ultimate host, because we are all storytellers of the same brand. Right? We define ourselves to be the storytellers. And from the point a guest checks in to the checkout, we focus on how we can relate them to the localization. So as a brand, we prefer to be culturally rooted. Sometimes we have the challenge if you be too culturally rooted and we don't meet the hygiene factors, safety and security. So we meet the right balance between international standards, ensuring that we are not too internationalized. Because no one wants to come to Sri Lanka and experience how to be in New York.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, but we bring the right balance between being localized as well as internationalized in the right parameters. Then ensuring, since the core value is to be sustainable, add value, our artisans, the collaborations that we take place, the food we source, we try to make as much possible to each of the villas sourcing from their vicinity. So a menu, typically 40% of our menu will be the same across our villas.
Okay.
But 60% of it will be changing.
Right.
So even the welcome drink changes from villa to villa. That's the uniqueness. So if you travel with one of our properties in Gaul, it's not going to be the same in Mirissa. It's not going to be the same in Habutale. Each of it has a story and it has to add value to the local livelihoods there. So that's something that we non-negotiate. But that's again we are embedded from Acorn.
Interesting. So I need to come to you then, Harith. So TONIK is now being positioned as a experiential, story-led, heritage conscious brand. But Acorn is a very modern conglomerate, or you are very young and putting technology at heart of what you do as well. So how does what TONIK is trying to do align with Acorn's conglomerate's values?
Interesting question, because Acorn is relatively a new brand, but the businesses are 50, 60 years old. So we have both the worlds. So we need to now capitalize it. Number one, we firmly believe in authenticity and not in scale and not transactional. If you sit back and look at the Sri Lanka tourism last few years, we have had growth. We are not sitting in a huge base. We have had 2.36 million tourists, whereas Cambodia is 7 million, Thailand is 40 plus, Vietnam is 30 million plus. We have a huge catching up to do, starting with that. So we want to be authentic. We don't want to be transactional. We want to tell the story the proper way and go for high yield, proper tourists who are, use our tourism products well, because we are still in the infant stage of tourism. Sri Lanka never had, I keep saying this all the time, Sri Lanka never had 5 normal years. We had 30 years of war, then came tsunami, then came Easter Sunday, the whole financial trouble, never had. And we were just looking ahead, and then came the floods. I'm telling, just give us 5 years normalcy. Government doesn't have to do anything. Just give us normalcy. The private sector will run the show. They are quite capable. They are very resilient. They have the know-how. They know what to do. So, in that sense, Acorn and TONIK, exactly what we are trying to do. Just not the numbers. It's not transactional. Bring in quality tourists. Tell the story what Sri Lanka is.
Yes.
The uniqueness Sri Lanka has, and then contribute to the stakeholders, to the company, to the country. And it's so interesting because Acorn Group, the tagline is inspiring journeys, right? So we want to inspire everyone when they come here. And TONIK is, I think, a good example of doing that.
I think I just want to add one more thing. Acorn stakeholders are actually key stakeholders in the industry as well. We are quite clear about 2 things. One, the existing 4% of the higher end of the spectrum. We are not fighting for that. We are working along with some of the brands, and we will look forward to working as well in expanding this 4%. Acorn has quite a lot of experience in some of the markets like Harith said, Cambodia, Thailand, Maldives being the closest country. We've understood what really attracts these H&W clients to these markets. We want to bridge that gap. And the only way to do is not to fight for the existing 4%. The 96% of the rest of the, you call it most long tail or 4-star and below, is the one that is growing rigorously. It has grown at 17%. But whereas this 4% has grown at 1 or 2%, which means the number of high spenders are like next to nothing, the number of increasing. So we want to work along in the industry how we can expand this market. It's pointless as a brand trying to fight for the same 10 clients. We have to see how can we bring in new clients. So that's where we're focusing on more digitally driven, how we can take the brand out there. And the storytelling is quite important to bring this type of clients in.
Excellent. Foreign guests, while they do not want to have the same experience as New York because they're trying to escape that, right? Say they're coming from winter there. They also don't want to get sick eating food that is underprepared, right? So I think the need to marry this whole thing between authenticity but also world-class standards is a difficult combination. Not everybody has got it right. And even locations that have got it right, or brands that have got it right, you hear stories of horror stories, one case of food poisoning or something else, and it's a problem. So how are you going to make sure that TONIK's operations meet these world-class standards but also have authenticity?
Yeah. So one of the things we focus on this hyper-personalization is before the check-in, we have a questionnaire that we go through. Again, we don't make it like it's like an exam where I question all from the client. we try to make it seamless as possible, where the clients are quite open about selecting what they want to have, if they have any exceptions, and we try to meet the midpoint. Meaning, let's take for example a Sri Lankan dish, which can be super spicy. We try to make it edible as possible for a Western client. So we will reduce the spice level, or we'll be quite cautious about the supplementary additions that we do into a whole, the food and preparing, even the beddings that we do for them. So
just to add to that, I think food hygiene and authenticity in Sri Lankan cuisine are two different things. If the food hygiene is not good, be it fish and chips, lamb chops, or Sri Lankan curry, it's the same thing. You will get food poisoning. So hygiene is a must, without a doubt. Having said that, people, especially from the Western world, coming here, they want to experience Sri Lankan cuisine. In fact, Thailand, as a strategy, they send out hundreds of chefs every year to Europe to set up Thai food chains and promote Thai food. They find cuisine and tourism that's connected. Australia, in their campaign few years back, how the Australian wines
And the meat.
that was part of their strategy. People came to Australia for that. So, and if you take in Italy, you go there, there's a lot of Italian restaurants. Sri Lanka doesn't have many Sri Lankan restaurants.
okay.
They are coming up, but it's still less comparatively. So I think that's one opportunity we have. Hygiene is a must. I don't want to even debate about it, whatever the cuisine. But they love Sri Lankan food. And if you take in London, fish and chips was overtaken by the Indian curry.
Yes.
That helps India and tourism and the whole culture and the whole, incredible India. And for me, I find there's opportunities in Sri Lankan cuisine, rice and curry. I think kottu is one
Absolutely.
product we can really take all over the world.
And
it's- Hoppers. It's very unique, and so there's opportunity, and I'm excited about because we are still in a small base, 2.6 million, 2.36.
Yes.
That's
More than
very, very small.
Indeed. Harith, for the last 50, 60, 70 years, tourism has to a large extent been really driven by the private sector. It is preferable, I think, that this continues and they take the lead, I think, as well. So as a leading group in the leisure sector, how are you going to look at these different brands, Acorn Leisure, and things like TONIK, in terms of shaping the global perspective of the country? They're talking about examples from, Thailand, Australia, Vietnam, India. But, your group, what is your group going to do, to change the global perception of Sri Lanka?
Yeah, so it's a very tough question. Because changing the perception of a country, it's very tough for a company to do.
I know.
It's very tough. Now, what has happened all these years is that, there's no real strategized positioning of Sri Lanka. I'm sad to say, every time a new minister comes, the tagline changes. And they set their mark and they go away. We pay 1% of our revenue for a promotional budget. We hardly get any promotions. Because Sri Lanka is so gifted in its natural resources and the products, it's increasing. But there's a lot of competition. And we get 10% growth and we are happy. Malaysia has 30 million. So that's, for me, that's a problem. We can do more. And I'm sad to say Sri Lanka, the country and the people really hasn't benefited from tourism because the potential is more. I want tourism to really, that's a low-hanging fruit. Any government that comes can get benefits from tourism. All they have to do is just support, facilitate, and work with the private sector in promoting and setting standards. That's it. Private sector will do the rest. If you take the new properties that's coming in, international chains that coming in, they are doing promotional on our behalf. It's very tough for an individual company to go out there and promote. You know how expensive marketing is in Germany, UK, or America. It's very tough. So we have to do collectively. Because we spend 1%, and that goes to a promotional budget, we expect much more.
Yes, and that's a significant figure.
Yeah, and unfortunately that hasn't happened. And I have sat in the promotional board for 3 years. We utilize only 30-40% of that money. The rest goes to the treasury those days. So we expect, we have had good tourism ministers, people like Honorable John Amratunga, Honorable Harin Fernando. They spoke well. What we want is, keep it together. Private sector will do the rest. The government doesn't have to worry about it. But set the standards and the regulation. That's it.
And some of the content that these private sectors or international brands have put out, you won't believe it's Sri Lanka. Like, which part of Sri Lanka is like that? So they are doing their part. But the sad part is that most of the time the private sector comes together is the associations that play a part. And the first thing that comes out of an association is rules and regulations, or how not to cut off each other. But we have to find more common ground as brands to work together, because private sector has a better opportunity and better scale, and we have a long arm that we can reach, and we have presence across the world. It's much more easy for us to promote Sri Lanka as a country. That's the only way we can increase that 4%.
I'll tell you a very funny example. When I was actually heading Slido as the president, we had a proposal from Yanni, the music.
Yes. Great.
He wanted to do a show in Sigiriya.
Wow.
In the night. And background was Sigiriya, his orchestra, it's about 60 people. And he wanted special lighting, right, which has to be imported, and it's another lighting company to do it. We went with the proposal to the authorities. What they said was, no, you don't need those lights. Sigiriya is lit up in the night. There are like 4 or 5 lampposts. So they don't understand. They don't understand. So, and the proposal was shut. Yanni never came to Sri Lanka. So that's it. Just an example.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And then you have seen, obviously, a lot of acts cancelling the recent tours. And if they felt the location was compelling enough, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because for their personal brand reputation, I think we need to do something dramatic going forward.
So the relatability of mainly these tourists comes to Sri Lanka only when they decide people in this country can understand my needs.
Yes.
They can cater to me. Yes. So if we can't show that we can do that, they will not prefer Sri Lanka. That's one of the reasons why Maldives has a higher traffic, because they've changed their whole environment and ecosystem to address a European client. They address all clients, and even the people, the stakeholders, also multicultural. We don't have to achieve the multiculturality, but we have to be. We understand your needs. If we can address that, definitely these clients will come to us.
Because tourism is a global product, no?
Yeah.
People can easily compare, as opposed to some other product where it's very localized. Tourism, you can compare standards. Raj, Harith mentioned that the industry is very competitive.
Yes.
Globally, even locally to some extent, right? By the time, a player sort of has an offering, it could already be, outdated. It could be been surpassed by others. Or the tour, the traveler themselves have changed their preferences. So how do you keep up with this rapid changes that are happening in the world?
So I want to go 8 years ago. Okay? I come from a tech startup background. I've worked in local startups. I've worked in international startups. I think one of the key lessons they teach us is that you do things as fast as possible, knowing that there's a competitor coming up. It's very hard for them to replicate, because we've grown quite fast. And even for them to replicate us, there's a long way to catch up. So for them to figure out the concept will take some time, the internal aspirations, what are our goals, what is the soul of the business. As a business, it's not just about numbers. Sometimes it's about the soul and the objective that you bring onto the table. So we try to be rigorous as possible. And we try to be a startup. Startup is a mentality. So we try to bring 10x, 20x growth. There's a huge difference between small and medium enterprise and a startup. It's the mindset. So we try to grow as much as from where we started. The brand was launched in August. We're right now at 7 properties. In the end of this month, we will hit 10. So it's about packing that ammunition, and we don't have limit. We are daring enough to grow as fast as possible, because the faster we grow, we can contribute towards the market, and the whole livelihood changes. And the market, Sri Lanka needs people to act fast, because like we said, we never had 5 years at a stretch. So if we have 2 or 3 years, we have to value these 3 years. And the best way is not have the laid back attitude and not take things for granted, but act on what we have. Given the fact that the traffic is coming up, we have a global stage. Sri Lanka is much more spoken than before.
Absolutely.
Like from movies to TV series or even awards, people represent, and Sri Lankans are shining quite a lot 2024, 2025. So if they are all contributing in a different way towards Sri Lanka, we also should act faster and come out of, because Sri Lankans who even leave Sri Lanka, they are much more rigorously working out there in the global stage. I think we are the DNA of them. We are part of them. We are all same. We should be doing the same thing.
Like late Mr. Lakshman Kadagam said, the cake was baked at home. So only the environment seems to have changed so that they can thrive. Final question to both of you. What does the future hold for the country's tourism industry? What does it hold for Acorn and TONIK?
As TONIK, as a team, as a storyteller, I look up to Sri Lanka because it's going to set a huge stage for us. And for TONIK's aspirations in Sri Lanka or globally, it's all about Sri Lanka. It is not a test ground for us. We are validating everything that is right here. And this is going to be our home. This is our home turf. So TONIK, we are focusing on getting it right here and then pitch it out there for the global stage. So 2025, 2026 is going to be our stepping stone towards that.
So from a tourism perspective, I think all I request, pray, hope, whatever you call it, is just 5 years normalcy. If that happens, I think we need to improve our capacity, both airlines as well as hotels. My only bad news to Sri Lankans is that hotels are going to be very expensive for them to travel. And if tourism really hits the potential, a room will be 150,000 per day. So time to travel now for Sri Lankans. But jokes apart, I think we are about to take off. If normalcy is there, we need to expand our airport.
Yes.
A lot of the whole room capacity needs to improve, and airline needs to also improve. And it's only looking good. What we want is normalcy, including a stable government. Whatever the government, have stability, the private sector will do the rest.
Excellent. On that positive note, Harith, Raj, thank you for your time and best wishes for Acorn and TONIK as well.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very much.
all at Echelon for having us. Good luck and all the best.